How do you know when you've gone to all of that effort to build a new version and you've done all that customer discussion and you've thought it all through and you've designed the UI and you've made all the changes, how do you know when it's done and ready to ship?
Well, done and ready to ship are two very different things.
Okay.
Nothing is ever done, and if you wait for it to be done, you won't ship and you won't get the valuable feedback that you need.
Right. So when do you ship?
Well, so if I'm looking at this product that I'm preparing to ship, what is it that I want the customer to be able to do with it? Okay. At what point will that software offer value to the customer in the state that it's in? Because you can keep working on it forever and you'll be able to provide value in A, B, C, D, and E, right? All these different areas, right? But what's the minimum amount of value that I need to provide to my customer that's going to make them happy and make them more productive and make them want to share their money with, trade money with me for the value that I provide for them. And so that's just, that's not an easy decision to make, but the beauty of the time that we live in is that you can ship software so often. If you're deploying on the web, we push updates out every day.
Okay.
Every day you're going to have something new in our server app that's released. And with auto updating in the desktop software, I can put updates out every month if I want, sure. or more often if I really want to. I don't like to inundate people with updates, but so we're not, when I started, getting updates out to people was awful, and so making those decisions was a lot harder. Now I just look at it as, all right, you know what? I've got one great new feature that's going to make life easier for 50% of my customers. All right, let's put it out, let's ship it. And it's easier to test that way too, right? So if I'm just adding, and I guess you can get into the discussion of, are you deciding about the first release of a piece of software, or are you talking about incremental updates? And if you're looking at incremental updates, it's easy because you say, I've got a new feature for them. It doesn't have to be, back in the day it had to be, I have my version 1, I have my version 1.1 maybe, and then I have a 1.5, which is going to have a bunch of upgrades, and then 2.0 has got to blow the socks off of everyone. The nice thing about SaaS is it's just this slow evolving piece of software, and that makes me happier as a developer, but I think it makes customers happier too, because they're constantly, they're paying us on a monthly or a yearly basis, and we like to keep giving them an improved experience. If you're looking at original releases though, so we're on version 4 of our desktop client for our desktop authoring tool. So we break authoring up into we have a desktop tool that is for authoring individual articles, and then we have online tools that help you organize and manage the content, the users, and all that stuff. So the desktop is on version 4. When we did version 1, right? So we created, if we go back to the medical software, we created this learning management system that was quite complex, but it could put together some cool training. But we were the only ones that used it. Right? When we decided that we wanted to create something for the public, we said, all right, what's the essence of what we need to do here? And we thought it was create a tool that could capture images and allow you to add a title and some descriptive text. Kind of recreating what we saw. So my brother went in, and what he'd do is he'd watch people try to use these machines. He'd just sit back and he'd watch what they do. And this goes back to maybe talking with customers. When you're creating the product, it's really good to be able to see how people are trying to solve the problem. How are they addressing the problem that you're trying to solve? And as you go in there, he'd see these machines, and there would be sticky notes all over the machine. He'd just have them running up and down. They weren't using the manual. They just had sticky notes. All right, this is how I do this, and it's just all over the place, right? And so we thought, well, could we create some software that would create learning material that was like the sticky notes? And so the first ScreenSips 1 was lame. it was, as I look at it now, but it helped us get the idea out there and test it. And we had people that embraced it. We're just like, oh, this is so cool. It's just, I'd take screenshots, and as I took them, they would just fill up this document in the background for me. Very straightforward, very simple. And it gave us a lot of good data. And because we didn't, this comes back to LiveCode. What's the investment to start using LiveCode? Well, you can start learning it for free, right? You have the community edition. And then when you decide, well, maybe I have a product idea now, it's very reasonable to get into LiveCode to start developing the product. And then you're developing for multiple platforms, right? So a single developer can develop for multiple platforms rather than having to hire 2 or 3 people or however many you want to have. And so it lets you just test that idea out with a smaller investment, right? I mean, the investment, a lot of it is you taking the time to figure out what the problem you want to solve is, and becoming familiar with LiveCode. But version 2, you could organize things into manuals, right? And you could there was more types of options for customizing your PDF and your HTML output, and then you could export it to WordPress. All these different things, and so each version provided something of value to the customer that we could then that we felt they would be willing to trade us money for the value that we were going to offer them.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's the big thing, is because if no one's willing to trade you money for what you release. Yeah. Well, if you're doing it just to say I'm just trying to learn,
sure,
that's great, but don't go overboard. don't go overboard, because you don't need to make the product that ends all products, because it won't happen.
Yeah, it goes on forever.
It goes on
instead.
Yeah.